Welcome, guys. This is Robert Radcliffe, your host of You're Sober, Now What? Thank you so much for watching, and I'm positive today's episode is going to be inspiring because of this guy right here, who I'm so honored to be interviewing and to be calling a friend of mine for 30 plus years.
30 plus, maybe almost 40.
Almost 40 years.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go a little bit more about my connection with Peter, but really quick, if you're not familiar with the concept of this channel, watch the introduction video that I have on this site's channel as to what it's all about as far as inspiring people, not only that share the same path as we do as far as in sobriety, but for anybody out there that's in pursuit of becoming the best version of themselves. And the whole essence of this channel is to hear from people like Peter who have achieved, in Peter's case, so much success. And by the way, during this interview, don't be humble. I want to talk about your success because, again, I joke, humility can be overrated. In this situation, I really want you to tell the viewer, I want you to share with those that are starting a young life in sobriety, or in our case, in real estate, that look what you've created. After you've achieved sobriety, you've achieved massive success. And alone just with your title, we were just talking about it, Douglas Element, you're the president of the Western region, correct? Mm-hmm. But share with the viewer a little bit about, after you got sober, we met 35 years ago at John Douglas Company in Marina Del Rey, where you were my manager, you were my first manager.
Right. Yeah, well, you and I got sober together, and the funny thing about Rob and me is that we're pretty much cut from the same cloth, in the sense that neither of us are ever going to be satisfied with who we are. I think we're always going to want to be better versions of ourselves. I think we're into complete self-improvement, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I think we view life as an ever-ending pursuit of excellence. And one of the things that sobriety gives us is the opportunity to pursue those things without a huge handicap. And even if you and I didn't need to become sober, I think you and I would both agree that now that we are sober, we have an edge.
Yeah.
And I love the edge.
Bring the best version of ourselves.
That's right. And to not be intoxicated, or to not be running from your feelings, or maybe trying to block feelings. We need to learn and grow through them. And I think as a result, we become better versions of ourselves and feel better about ourselves. So, about success. Well, I was the reluctant realtor. I don't know if you know the story, but I never really wanted to be in real estate. So it just happened on me. And, as an agent, I rose to the top, and then I became a manager. I rose to the top, and then the company I work for, Coldwell Banker, asked me to be president of the company, which kind of blew me away, and I did that. And then, as you know, I started a company after that called Talus Properties, which we grew to 22 offices, $3 billion in sales, which we subsequently sold to Douglas Element. And since that, I've stayed on at Douglas Element as president for them, and I am just absolutely loving that role. It's probably the best company I've ever worked at, by far. It's an amazing company, and it's because, again, I'm surrounded by people that inspire me, that challenge me. The intellectual level is so high, and I've always liked to surround myself with really smart people.
Right.
I think that's the key.
Yep.
You don't want to be the smartest person in the room.
As the quote from Steve Jobs, if I'm the smartest man in the room, I'm in the wrong room.
Exactly right. and I'm always in the right room because I'm never the smartest. so that's really good. But I think, what's it called? Sobriety, then what? Then anything you want.
You're sober, now what?
You're sober, then what? Anything you want.
Yeah.
That you get a clean canvas now. Without any balls and chains, handcuffs, you're free.
Exactly. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. And as I was listening to you, I was thinking about Tony Robbins' acronym CAN-I, for standing for constant and never-ending improvement.
Yeah.
Which was kind of like our motto of what you and I and many others kind of live by. It's let's constantly and never improve ourselves. And, you know, I remember years ago, I had all this like bad things happen. And I remember thinking to myself, but you know what? I brought the best of me to the table in every one of those situations because I was sober.
Right.
It wasn't like, oh, but I was so hungover. Oh, it was high or this or that. It was just like, you know what? The cards didn't roll out the way I wanted to in those events, but you know what? I brought the best of me to each situation. At the end of every day, it's such a blessing, right?
Right.
That us in sobriety go, you know what? When we lay our head down, it's like, there's no excuses. It wasn't because I was loaded.
I agree with that, you know, and even if I make a mistake, even if I goof up sober, which I do all the time, I can correct it, and I can correct it with dignity. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
an honest mistake. And I think that we learn that, and it's not like showing up half-cocked, which is what we used to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I just celebrated 37 years of sobriety, and it's a long time when I think about it. And a lot of life has gone by during that time. And when I sit here with you right now and I think about it, I didn't miss any of it. I was present for all of it. And
Exactly.
it's so funny how, you know, you and I being sober, I mean, Rob and I have been friends forever. And we take these like massive, incredible surf trips together. And we've gone, you know, to Bali, we've gone to the Maldives, and, you know,
Samoa.
at Samoa, we did Samoa too.
Samoa, did Mexico.
We did
James'
Mexico,
trip.
that's right. And all these trips, it's so funny, you know, even on these trips, you know, Rob and I are like, okay, let's take a little time out for some business planning. And we do that just because, you know, it's like,
We did it on the boat.
we're not there yet. We got to get further. You know what I mean? We want to keep growing and improving. And you are an amazing, amazing person. I mean, I consider myself a highly disciplined person, and sobriety teaches me discipline. And I believe in discipline. I believe discipline is the road of freedom. Discipline is the road to freedom. And that quote is being made popular by some Navy SEALs guys. But the reality is that was my brother's quote like 50 years ago.
Really?
Oh yeah, he's a huge discipline guy. And it really is, don't you think? Yeah, because we're free from everything we don't want.
Right.
That's what discipline gives you, freedom from everything you don't want. And so Rob is like one of the most disciplined guys I know. I mean, you are like inspiring to me in your disciplines. And you know, when you really become disciplined in nature, you know, you stop doing things you don't want to do, and you start doing things you want to do. Now think about that for a minute. If you stop doing what you don't want to do, and you start doing what you do want to do, I mean, how's your life going to be?
Yeah.
I mean, how's it going to be? You tell me.
It ties into two quotes, I think.
Yeah.
One is, you know, to achieve what others won't, do what others won't.
Won't do.
And the other one is Mike Ferry, I think, said to me, like, do you run your business or does your business run you?
Correct.
You know, and that's what that freedom, like, do I have a systems in place and then a routine in place? In fact, Tara last night was saying to some friends last night, we were at dinner, she's like, I've been with Rob for 10 years. Rob has this routine. He hasn't broken that routine. Every day he wakes up, he gets up, he makes himself a cup of coffee, and he sits right here and meditates for 30 minutes without breaking that straight every day. That's his routine. And she's like, I change my routine every 3 weeks, you know?
That's right.
But it is. Sometimes
Yeah.
either the routine, the discipline, the structure allows us then to have that freedom.
Well, two things then. You know, first of all, you mentioned Tony Robbins, and I was reading a article. I think it was in Fortune magazine or maybe it was Forbes or something. And they were talking about his coaching clients. Now, Tony will coach you one-on-one if you want to lay out about $1.5 million. It's $1.5 million, right? And he will coach you. I think you get 2 meetings.
I forget.
It's not a lot of meetings. And he'll basically start off with you and say, you know, Rob, are you going to control your diet and your exercise? Because if you're not going to do that, I don't want to go any further.
Right.
And so just right down to, can we manage ourselves before we try to manage the world? Or try to manage our businesses? We can't manage the world, obviously, but if we manage our businesses, right? So think about that for a minute. If I can't control what I'm putting in my mouth, or I can't get up every morning and meditate,
Right. How can you control other things?
I know, well, you're going to be inconsistent at best.
Yeah.
Inconsistent at best. So I like you have a morning routine. I do it purely for self-survival because when I go out into the world, I never know what's going to happen. And so it kind of puts my armor on every day, my morning routine practice. And, it includes some meditation, it includes spiritual readings, it includes affirmations, it includes, whipping through emails, desk scrolling through Instagram, having it all done by about, 7 a.m. or so that I can work out, have a great breakfast, and maybe hit the office by 8 a.m.
It's awesome.
You know what I mean? Have it all done, ready to go. I walk in, I'm fired up, I'm turned on, I'm ready to fly. Most people are waking up,
right?
Wondering what they're going to do, have coffee, stuff like that. I think we're given life, and I think that is a gift. And I think taking advantage and taking whatever talents and abilities you have and multiplying them is what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to bury them under a rock.
No.
We're supposed to, that Mandela quote's a great quote, I don't remember it, but it's something like, we're not supposed to be small, we're supposed to be the biggest and best versions of ourselves.
I have it written in one of the books.
But things like that, and so be inspired by life, get excited about life, and I think sobriety has really
Amen. And
done that for me.
For sure. I mean, even the discipline, from working the steps and the things that we had to implement to get sober. And that's where I think that what's so great about interviewing people like you, that we achieved already a huge obstacle in our life. And we've proven to ourselves, to our world, that we can get sober. And now, again, the whole essence of this channel is, now what? Okay, take that same drive, that same discipline, those same practices that we had to apply to the steps, 12 steps or any other method of getting sober, and now apply that into the world, apply that to be the best version of ourselves. And you are, without question, an example of that.
But I got to stop you there, and I'm going to ask you a question, because you started this for a reason. Why did you want to give back? What was motivated you to do this?
Doesn't it feel good to help others?
It does.
I mean, that's really the reason.
I know.
It just friggin' feels good. I just like, I've written a couple books. I had this one guy stop me in a hotel and he goes, "Are you Robert Radcliffe?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "I read your book.
Wow.
Your book saved my life." And he goes, and he started tearing up. He goes, "Wow. Can I give you a hug?"
Wow.
And I'm like, "Dude, of course you can give me a hug."
Yeah.
And he gives me a hug and he's like, "You saved my life, thank you."
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, what a God shot. I've had not many moments like that, but I've had over a handful, like a dozen of moments where I'm like, that felt so good. I'm so glad I wrote those books. I finished them because I didn't want to finish them. And I didn't really want to do them. I was encouraged to do it. But like this channel, it's like, I hope that I get an email or a comment. "Rob, that interview you did with Peter, I know that guy, I know who he is. Oh, that was so inspiring, that was so helpful. I'm pursuing now a career in real estate.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that." So that's the reason.
I got it.
Feels good. Feels good to be of service.
Well, I'm glad to be hanging out with you.
Dude, I seriously, like Peter, like I love you.
Yeah.
I was telling Tara when I was doing this interview, like you mentioned the Maldives, and that it's always a good story of us getting lost at sea. Remember our scuba diving?
Oh my goodness. So the story, it's worth telling. We decide to go scuba diving. Now, neither of us are certified, so they have to certify us. And so the way they certify us is basically hold your nose, go underwater for 10 seconds, come up, you're certified. That was about the level of certification we got. Do you remember that? Now we're on a boat, we've got our gear, and we're told to jump into the water. So we've got our mask on, our gear, our oxygen, we're down in the water. And do you remember we were in a river? It was like Finding Nemo in the Australian current. We were flying underwater. I mean, turtles couldn't keep up, we were going so fast. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And here we are, having a blast. I'm watching Rob watching me. We're following our French Polynesian dive instructor. And finally he goes like this, it's time to come up, time to meet the boat. And we come up, and there's no boat. Worse, it's dusk.
Just about dark.
And we're looking at the island in the distance, and it's going like this. It's actually moving to the right. Now that means we're moving to the left. And it's impossible to swim to it. The current's too strong. So we look at each other, and by now we're like fuming, smoke's coming out our ears and eyes. And then off into the distance, this little boat appears, and it arrives and picks us up.
But now with that about 40-ish minutes of,
Pure terror.
whoa, we're going to be a statistic.
We're dead.
Guys lost at sea.
Yeah, bitten. It was shark feeding.
Oh yeah, and it was very sharky there. We had seen a couple earlier.
But
surfing.
it was a great experience. Yeah. It really was fun. And then we go back and complain, and they offered us 2 Cokes. You remember that? That was our reward for
Keep
that.
stopping it. God, I can't believe you
I
guys
know.
lost us. Well, here's 2 complimentary sodas for you guys.
But maybe that's it. Maybe what's after being sober is the friendships
Yes.
that you develop. Maybe that's the biggest reward of all. Not the success in life, not the material achievement, not the business success, but the friendships you'll develop, are so much more meaningful and real.
And be there for
Yeah.
with clarity.
Yeah, exactly.
They just nailed it. What a great place
Yeah.
to close.
Yeah.
Like that's so true. Like I literally filled up, and I mean this, like filled up with joy, knowing that you were going to come today and do this interview. And it just made me think about our Maldives, the Indo trip, chartering the boat, like, Samoa, like me, when I was new in the business, I would come home to take care of your house and your dog.
Right.
What was the name of his dog's name?
Oh, Stoli.
Stoli. And this is when I was
Stolimon.
Stolimon. And you sponsored me, you're my manager, like we
have a long history
history
together.
together.
You know what I mean?
For
And,
sure.
and a very long-lasting friendship, and that's the greatest thing.
That's the greatest thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks for being here.
You bet.
I love you.
Love you too.
And thank you for watching. I'm sure you got something out of this. And why don't you tell the viewer your social media handle?
Okay,
So people,
on Instagram, it's PH Hernandez, and check it out.
yeah, this guy's got how many followers?
195,000.
195,000 followers. My wife and I are like, what? But they actually
knows?
great content. Check out his Instagram.
Thank you.
Especially if you're in real estate, like on point, articulate, personal, and great content.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good.
All right.
Thanks for watching. Hey, do all the stuff I would love for you to do. Subscribe, comment, follow, share this video with a friend. Once again, I really hope you got something out of it. Also, those books that I pitched, 180 Degrees and 12 Simple Steps to Loving Life, can be found on the website 180life.us, and all my real estate stuff at robertradcliffe.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a fantastic day.